Voted one of the top 100 jazz clubs in the world, Shanghai Jazz in Madison, New Jersey has been entertaining its customers for almost 30 years with world-class live music, great food, and a commitment to hospitality that creates an exceptional atmosphere. Plus, if you're in the mood for a creative cocktail and incredible vibe, be sure to check out Encore Speakeasy, located downstairs in Shanghai Jazz. As one of my favorite restaurants in the area, I personally guarantee you will have a great experience. Check out the music schedule, the menu, or to make a reservation, head to shanghaijazz.com. Murphy, Schiller & Wilkes is formed with a simple purpose in mind, serving as the one-stop shop for the legal needs of developers, lenders, and others in the commercial real estate industry. Based in Newark, the firm's attorneys represent clients in the most complex real estate transactions and land development proceedings, as well as property taxation, environmental and real estate litigation matters, and in the acquisition, sale, and leasing of all real estate asset types throughout the country. Their attorneys have broad private and public sector experience coming from top national law firms and high-level governmental positions. Through the development of individualized client-focused strategies, their team works tirelessly to create a blueprint for success and advance their clients' interests in every matter. To learn more, head to murphyllp.com or give them a call at 973-877-6984.
Driving on this road feels like forever.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Greetings from the Garden State. I'm your host, Mike Ham. We are here in Wyckoff, New Jersey today at Brick House Cigar Shop with Reese Van Riper. Reese, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Yeah, great to be here. So we're here at Brick House Cigar Shop, but we're not necessarily like talking about Brick House Cigar Shop. We're talking about you, but they were gracious enough to let us use the space because this is kind of like
my hangout spot, basically.
Like your side hustle to what you're actually passionate about.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
Sure. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But you were nice enough to give me one of these cigars.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is a what?
That is actually my father, which is a really great stick. It's a Connecticut, so it's got the lighter shade and lighter tobacco. It's actually my father's favorite smoke. So it's best Connecticut, so I gave you a Connecticut, and I got a El Jefe, of course.
Oh, of course.
Of course.
You have a whole El Jefe vibe going on.
Yeah.
Like the seersucker jacket. What are these?
These guys, like Panama shoes. They're like woven with leaves.
Yeah, and then just like the whole rest of it, the shirt, the hat, the hair. I'm all about it.
Thank you.
So we should probably light these.
Yeah, let's light these suckers up.
Yeah. No one else knows that it's only 10 o'clock in the morning, but
exactly.
That's okay.
There you go.
So this is the way you go. Do you go like you toast it first, or do you just?
Some people toast it like they
get right after.
Yeah, they like just like a little like that, and then you put it in your mouth and you like twist it around. You know, you got to roll the cigar around. In and out. In and out, in and out, suck it in. No, but cigars is definitely a lost pastime.
Yeah. I mean, I love a good cigar.
Absolutely.
This is very good. I also like that you cut it like this V cut.
Yeah, the V cut. The V cut, I like it.
Hits me less in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some guys don't like the V cut because they say it's harder to pull on the smoke. They like the full cut.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, how much harder could it be to, suck it down?
Man up and
exactly.
Suck it.
Yeah, man up and suck it down.
Oh, shit. Okay, so let's learn a little bit about you. So are you from Jersey originally?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm from Jersey originally.
Where?
Fort Lee. I actually was born in Englewood and grew up in Fort Lee till I was about 9. Then moved to Wyckoff.
Yeah.
And the Wyckoff looked like the country compared to Fort Lee.
Oh, yeah, Fort Lee's a totally different animal.
So, yeah, that's where I grew up. I grew up in Fort Lee, Wyckoff, and I spent my summers at my great-great-aunt's farm in Meadville, Pennsylvania.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I get a lot of that. You know, when you stay here in Jersey and you go to Pennsylvania, it's like nice and homey because it's almost like they're 20 years behind a little bit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I like that because, you know, the speed of this area is just nonstop, constant pace, you know.
Yeah.
You basically don't even know your own neighbors, you know.
Right, for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And over there, it's like a community.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like my sister lives in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And I always joke that, like, there's certain towns around where she lives where it's like, this town is still in 1955.
Oh, yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Like, hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Just, like, the look of it, the feel of it, the way people kind of, like, interact with each other, like, all that kind of stuff. But definitely a much different vibe than a Fort Lee. Even a Wyckoff.
Yeah.
Wyckoff's pretty, you know...
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like city up here, but it's still, you know, it's got some stuff and it's
People wave at each other in Meadville. Like here, you like wave to someone, even if it's your neighbor. They're like, "Oh no, what's wrong? What's this guy want?"
Yeah. And so I don't think I even mentioned this at the beginning, but so you're a musician.
Yeah,
right?
Musician.
It's good that we mentioned that 4 minutes into this episode.
Yeah, musician from New Jersey.
Yeah. And so was music always something that was like a big part of your life growing up? Was that a big thing for you?
Music was a big part of my life because I grew up in a very musical family. My grandfather, Richard Thompson, was a music teacher in Cliffside Park High School.
Okay.
And he was also a tennis pro. He had a bunch of bands, you know, when he was younger.
Yeah.
And then he started a family and became a music teacher. You know?
Yeah.
So he always was playing piano, and my other grandfather taught me how to play heart and soul on the piano. So I've always been into music. My dad would play classic rock, you know, and I still love classic rock to this day. I would rather listen to like a classic rock playlist than modern day music that's out there.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
which I kind of get the vibe from just listening to your music.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
It's definitely not like what you would think mainstream modern type stuff is right now.
Exactly.
When you listen to Reese Van Riper or Papa Reese, that is not what you get.
Yeah. We keep to like the old school song structure.
Yeah.
Like this was something that was like pounded into my brain by my grandfather. We started writing music when I was like 8 or 9.
Sure.
Because he wanted me to write my own song so I could get on ASCAP and start my career at 9, you know?
Yeah, the best time to start is right away.
So, long story short, we wrote a song, and he says verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. That's how he did it. Or pre-choruses before the choruses, you know?
Right.
He just was very regimented with his songwriting process. So, even when I listen to music today, I'm like, where's this verse? You know, where did this bridge go? Where did the pre-chorus? You know, I'm like looking for that standard. You know, but we definitely keep to that standard, like old school rock.
Right. And can we like also talk about just like the overall style? Because like I said it because I think I saw it someplace else. Like it was like an interview that you did or an article or something like that. Like a Jersey swamp rock.
Absolutely.
Because it's like you said you have an album out now. The Saints. Or just Saints. Saints. Sorry. And then, but you mentioned before that, like the music before that was kind of like you said, darker and stuff like that. A little
bit more eerie, even though Saints does have like an eerie, dark side to it.
Sure.
But Saints was more of like more bringing back more of the acoustic-y Reese Van Riper stuff that I started early in my career, with my solo stuff. But then adding the full band. But the previous album and albums like Sinners, because Saints is a 3-part thing. We'll get into that. But Sinners was a lot more eerie, darker, ghosts, demons, devils, you know, witches, you know.
And like, where does that stuff come from? Like, why is that something that like because I mentioned some of the artists that we've had on the show previously and all that kind of stuff, and I always think that that's interesting to kind of see because like we mentioned Renee Maskin, who you know.
Great. Renee's great.
And like, so she's kind of like folk. I think she said it was like she wanted to be a combination of like Bob Dylan and something else. But that's going to really bug the shit out of me that I can't remember who it was. Doesn't matter.
I listened to it last night. I can't believe I don't remember.
But so she said that, and I was like, that's really interesting because like when you think of like Jersey, you don't think of that. And then I don't think you also think of the stuff that you do either.
Yeah, swamp rock.
Swamp rock. But like, where does that kind of come from?
You know, I've always been interested in like the macabre, the like occult, the esoteric side of everything. Even as a kid, I didn't even know what it was, but I like wanted to see a ghost. And when I started playing guitar and like even just like being a kid in Meadville, Pennsylvania for my summers, my great-great-aunt's house was butt up against a creek, but it was a creek because it's more like a brook, you know?
Yeah.
But on the other side was a cemetery.
Okay.
And I would play music by the creek, and I would just look at the cemetery, and I would write about, you know, spooky stuff. I wanted to add that, you know? And I was always gravitating more to, like, not heavier sounds, but more like cryptic, you know, lyrics and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what influenced me a lot. And I was like, I want to be a musician that, like, makes someone feel something, you know?
Right.
Even
exactly.
like, even if it is just like a little spook or scare, you know? But now it's more, I just want them to feel whatever emotion I'm trying to put out there, you know?
You know what? So this might be totally off.
Yeah.
And if I insult you, I sincerely apologize.
I'm sure I've been called worse.
But I get a vibe, you know, like Dr. John?
Dr. John, yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's like a very, like, I feel like I get a very similar type of vibe of like a Dr. John, like New Orleans style, kind of like swamps, like that kind of thing. Yeah. And like a lot of, like, some of this stuff is kind of like, you know, playful and whatever, but there's other stuff that's very like darker, and kind of like what you were talking about.
Yeah. Someone asked, like, what bands would you say you guys sound like? And I said, basically, if Creedence Clearwater Revival, right, met Alice in Chains.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I can see that.
It's got that.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little heavier than Creedence, and it's got some, you know, spooky lyrics, you know?
Right.
Or just even, like, you know, sing about real stuff, too.
Yeah.
You know, hardships, and that's more what Saints is about, you know? But, yeah, definitely Dr. John, my bassist, like, before he started, Kevin Carroll, before he started in the band, my keyboardist was playing bass with his left hand on another organ, you know? And he's like, dude, you need a bassist, let me play, you know? And then he's like, you guys sound like Dr. John, you know? A bunch of other, like, Louisiana style, you know, bands and stuff. And I love hearing that because I love Louisiana. I love New Orleans. Like, I'm a Saints fan just because I went there on tour and I saw, like, how much that city was behind their team. Right. And, like, you know, New Orleans is, like, second home. I love just being there. You know? So
it looks like they, like, plucked you out of here, put you here, and
put
then
you here from
kind of like gave you a little bit more of a Jersey spin.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Okay, so let's go back to kind of like to the growing up side. So obviously, like, music, big influence on you. You know, father, grandfather, all that kind of stuff. But then as you're getting older, like, are you doing other stuff? I mean, like, you probably get asked all
when
the
I was
time,
a kid,
like, playing sports because
absolutely
a huge dude,
6'7". Yeah. I've always been like a few heads taller than everybody in my grades.
Right.
So, I started playing basketball. I loved street hockey as a kid. When I moved to Wyckoff, we had a driveway. So basically I had my driveway, and all the kids in the area, they were playing roller hockey, and I didn't know how to roller skate at the time, so I played goalie. So I would just be, like, at the time, like a 5'10", like, 10-year-old, you know what I mean? Right. Like a huge kid, just in the goal, blocking the whole goal, and people would just smack pucks at me. But, like, I loved hockey, but I was so tall that everybody expected me to play basketball, and I was too big to play peewee football. I didn't make the weight limit. So when I finally got to try out at football, I was at St. Joe's in Montvale. And it was, I lost like 30 pounds in like 2 weeks or something. You know what I mean? Because you're just running up that hill, and you're like vomiting, and you're like running, and they're like, keep going, you know?
I played football my freshman year at Pope John. And I had never played football before. I was like moving to a new town, new school, all that kind of stuff, and I was like, I'll try football. And I was like 135 pounds. So then, like, I had no athletic skills aside. Like, baseball was like always my thing. And then they put me on like the offensive and defensive line. I just got like my ass kicked for an entire fall.
That's why I was tackle. It was great.
It was really awesome.
It was a good learning experience.
It really made a man out of me. For sure.
Exactly. But basketball, and I was pretty good at it. I was actually undefeated, except for one game we lost. From like 7th grade to junior year of high school. And I stopped. And I was like, I'm doing music. You know, because I did not care at all. It like gave me anxiety because, like, you know, my parents would go and people are screaming in the stands, you know. I don't want them screaming. I want them cheering.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah,
so,
different
like,
kind of...
exactly.
Yeah, support.
So I basically won every championship all those years, and I loved it, you know. We lost one game to Belleville when I was at St. Joe's, and it was, like, catastrophic.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you're like, how could we lose? How could St. Joe's, like a private, you know, school, lose to Belleville? Which there's nothing wrong with Belleville, you know, but it was just crazy, you know, because I would expect like Bosco or Bergen Catholic, you know, to be the ones, but, you know, Belleville. You know?
The underdog.
Yeah, the underdog. Love an underdog story.
100%.
So, absolutely. Just can't be too mad.
No, definitely not.
You know.
Well, now, you know, looking back on it, you're like, it was, you know, high school sports. It's okay. Okay, so you decide junior year, you said? Yeah. Kind of like really focus on the music stuff. So are you also playing in like the band in high school and stuff like that?
Yeah. So 8th grade, I got together with Javier Ramos, who was from Franklin Lakes at the time. And we started jamming in his basement. I wanted to make like a Dave Matthews Band type of band, you know, because I was really into that. And he was a fantastic drummer. He actually won some competition in like 8th grade at Guitar Center for playing drums.
That's awesome. Yeah,
he was this Cuban kid who's amazing. He got the rhythm inside of him. I don't know what he's doing now. It's been years, you know. But then had a couple other guys join the band, and I'm playing music at 8th grade, playing the Wyckoff band shell. Yeah. And we finally played in like 2002, so that must have been my sophomore year. Same band. Yeah. Brookside was the name of the band. Okay. And then after we were doing Brookside, I actually I stopped Brookside and I started working on like a little bit darker, grungier type band, you know, alternative type music and stuff like that. So I was in school, and at the same time I was also playing. So like I remember junior year, I'm on the cell phone at school, which you're not allowed to be. Sure. And I'm like talking to my manager, you know, because I got to go to Quad Recording Studio in Times Square to record like a new album, right? You know, and I'm like, I don't know if I can get there at that time. My mom's picking me up and driving me in because I didn't even have a license. Yeah, but I'm recording at Quad, right? You know, Tupac record there, Tool record there, a lot. It's a very popular place. Yeah, for sure. Like apparently Tupac got shot right outside of Quad, and the bloodstains are still on the carpet. Really? Yeah. Wow. Yeah, which is interesting. We always looked at them, but yeah, I was doing music during high school, so that's why. So this is like another thing, a little cool teaser, Easter egg. Yeah. Senior year of high school at Rampo in Franklin Lakes, I actually wanted to drop out in October. Yeah. So my mom said, "There's no way in fucking hell you're gonna quit in your senior year. Right, you made it this far. You made it this far. I know you hate school. I know you don't care about it. I know you're doing music's your thing, but you gotta go." And guess what? I said, "Fuck you. I'm not going." So what they did was the school brought a substitute teacher to come in and give me the tests, give me the game plan of what they're doing at school. 2 times during the week. So for 2 days every week, I had a school teacher come in, and, you know, he'd see me doing the tests, and I was not good at school, you know, especially at testing. Right. So I'd be like doing like my answer, like circling something, and he'd be like, because everybody wanted me to pass, because they're like, this kid's gotta pass. Right. And so he's like, or like, you know, like, yeah, exactly. But I remember the guy they chose to, like, and this shows like how you should never judge a book by its cover. Yeah. The guy they chose to like come and help me, you know, this crazy rebellious kid, was like a guy that I used to make fun of, like a substitute teacher we all made fun of. But we called him Exploding Tomato Face Man. Yeah. Yeah. And
I like, or it instantly had that image in my head. Yeah.
So, long story short, I always made fun of him through my whole high school thing. You know, we all did. And then he was the guy to step up and come and help me.
Right.
So I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
how
fantastic.
life works like that.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
So that's the story.
Yeah.
Like, and I graduated finally.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
4 years.
But then from there, I'm assuming college wasn't a thing.
College wasn't a thing. I started my own house flipping business. I did
Okay.
a lot of construction,
Yeah.
contractor stuff. Had a few houses. Recession hit. Got stuck with one. Had to stay with it for like 4 years, 5 years to get the return back that I wanted. Close to the return.
Sure, right.
We flipped it in Wyckoff. It was supposed to be like the honeypot money pit, you know?
Yeah.
But always with stuff like that, you know, man plans, God laughs.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
you know, don't count your eggs before they hatch.
Definitely not. That's so interesting because it's just like, I feel like sometimes people where it's like school was not necessarily like a priority, but then they like start doing other things that are just like they become successful at and in whatever
absolutely.
way. You know what I mean?
You got to find a way to like not only make ends meet, but like you got to find a way to keep working on something.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Because I think like also because obviously like, you know, it's very clear like music's the thing.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing that like you're working on. That's the thing that you want to like make happen. But at the same time, like as you I'm sure know, that's hard and it takes a long time to kind of you know like catch it. Like whenever that like break comes and all that kind of stuff.
It's like dismantling a lock. You know, trying to pick a lock.
Right.
You know, all the gears, all the pieces have to come in at the perfect time, and everything needs to click. You know. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever? Was there a point between like then and I guess now that you feel like it clicked, or was it more something that like something clicked? Like, oh, okay, this is definitely kind of the route that we can definitely like. This is gonna work, basically.
Yeah, totally.
Like a moment where you're just like, oh shit, like this is gonna be a thing that I can finally like know that I can do consistently.
Yeah. I would say because right out of high school I quit. Also, I joined and then quit a couple of years later a metal band called the Murder and the Harlot, and my drummer in that band was Gene Wilder, Gene Infante from Gene Wilder's Vacation.
Yeah,
and he was a great metal drummer. Doesn't play at all anymore. But long story short, I left that band and then started Reese Van Riper did construction and then started Reese Van Riper during that time period. And then I had a few people from Wyckoff play with me, you know, my great friend Andrew McLean, Brian Rodriguez, and Mike Maurice. And once we started playing, we immediately started playing the city in like 2008, 2007. And we actually linked up with the PBR representative of New York City.
Okay.
And he would put on these shows, open bars, and he would be like, "I want you guys to play, for the hour that we have the open bar, so we can get people to see you."
Right.
You know, so that's when I started feeling like the lock starting to like click in, you know. But it was the beginning, you know. You learn like stuff. Nothing crazy happened, but then I was solo again.
Right.
And I was looking for a band because then we did go down to like South by Southwest to play in 2010.
Yeah.
And I wanted to repeat that in 2011. So I actually called up Tony Saxon I just met. He's also on Mint 400 Records. And I was like, do you want to go down with me as my second guitarist to play at South by Southwest?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, sure, dude, I'm totally down. My schedule's open. But you know, I think we should ask to play drums is Gene Infante.
Yeah.
And I was like, I haven't talked to Gene when I left the band. It was like he was very upset. You know, we didn't talk ever since then.
Right.
You know, for years. Like probably 4 years we didn't talk at all. And I'm like, if he will talk to me, I would love to do that, you know. And he had just got kicked out of the Murder and the Harlot, which was his band. And then he bought the rights to the name The Murder and the Harlot because he's a genius.
Yeah, right.
And he's like, well, if you want to continue as that band, you got to pick a new name.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he joined our band. He joined Reese Van Riper, and we went on like it was like we had 3 shows booked. That's it.
Yeah.
All the way down to Austin, Texas, and back. And we had they had gone on tour before, we had gone on tour before, but it was the first time that I was just flying by the seat of my pants, and I'm like booking these things, and that's when I started feeling like this can work.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because everywhere we played, it was, people really responded to it. They loved it.
Yeah.
When we played New Orleans, right, the first time we went down to New Orleans, we had no show booked. I just wanted to go because I've always heard about it. You know, it's just 2011.
Right.
And it's, you know, home of the blues and shit, you know, jazz, everything. So I had to go. But we went. Gene got extremely sick, you know, started vomiting, did not leave the hotel room the whole time. So me and Tony went into the town, you know, Bourbon, you know, and we're on Frenchman Street, you know, walking around. We see this bar with a band playing, which every bar is. But you go in and had this giant, like, Rastafarian mural of, like, a guy that looked like Bob Marley but wasn't, and a lion as the backdrop of the stage, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, this is awesome. And I was like, I love this. Yeah. And they're like, the band on stage is like, hey, guys, just want to let you guys know that it's an open jam. So if you guys want to come up and play a song, that you could play one of our guitars, you could play our bass, you could play our drums, you know? Yeah. Which is very shocking that a drummer would let someone else play his drums. Touch their stuff, you know? Yeah. So me and Tony were like, maybe we could talk to this guy. Maybe we could play like 2 of our songs, because Tony's a multi-instrumentalist, so he can play drums, you know. I can't. So he got on we wrote down, you know, Reese Van Riper, and they're like, so what do you want us to do? And we're like, get off the stage. That's what we want you to do, you know, because you don't know these songs. And Tony got on the drums. I played guitar, and the whole place, we only played 2 songs, but we played our first song. The place was on their feet. They erupted. You know, it was place.
Who thinks like somebody's just gonna roll in on a
exactly
open whatever,
and a song they've never heard before, but they felt it. You know, we played Pitchfork, and I think we may have played Hoodoo Rising after that. Okay. And once they heard Pitchfork, they're like, "Do another one, keep going." You know, the guys in the band. You know, and all the people were loving it. But it shows. That's another thing why I love New Orleans is like anything can happen. Yeah. You know, there's so many opportunities there. You know. Everybody else is playing. There's a hustle you got to do. Sure. You know, but just for a traveling band in 2011, you can find an open jam and you can play your songs without even having a scheduled book. You're not getting paid, right? But at least you're getting ears on your music.
Yeah, for sure. Know? And then they hear, you know, they see, you know, wrote down Reese Van Riper, and then they start looking for you. Yeah, like wherever, exactly. You know, at that time, like where you could find stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like awesome. MySpace, Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Napster.
Napster, right? Yeah, not that old.
I just remember like downloaded like LimeWire.
LimeWire, that was a good
used
one.
To get, you know, all my pirated bootleg music from LimeWire.
And viruses.
Oh yeah, 100%. And like download it, and it's like in your iTunes library. My parents are like, "What the hell is this?" Yeah. And I'm like, just whatever, just go with it.
Go with it.
Yeah. So okay, so we're gonna take our break. Just cool. We're coming up on the time. Okay. Cool. And then we'll be back, and we'll talk more about all the other stuff that you got going on.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Sounds good.
All right, so this is the Greetings from the Garden State podcast. I'm Mike Ham. We're here in Wyckoff, New Jersey at the Brick House Cigar Shop with Reese Van Riper. We'll be right back. The Mayo Performing Arts Center is the heart of arts and entertainment in Morristown, New Jersey. MPAC presents over 200 events annually and is home to an innovative children's arts education program. To see MPAC's upcoming schedule of world-class concerts, stand-up comedy, family shows, and more, head to mayoarts.org or just click the link in our show notes. Bored of going to the same park? Want to try a new local adventure? Well, then check out njspots.com, your home for finding a new spot to discover right here in New Jersey. With dozens of maps to check out, local hiking spots, family-friendly places, and seasonal suggestions, NJ Spots is waiting for you to find somewhere new to explore. That's njspots.com. All right, we're back for segment 2 of this episode of Greetings from the Garden State. I'm Mike Ham. We're here with Reese Van Riper at the Brick House Cigar Shop in Wyckoff, New Jersey. So first time we learned all kind of about your background. Yeah. Growing up, the background in music and everything, all the way up to that open jam show in New Orleans. Yeah. One thing that I did want to ask before that segment ended, and just kind of like the answer that you were given, was that... So one of the things that I've noticed about being a podcaster is that, ooh, nice smoking.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, pretty good.
Been doing it since 13.
Yeah. One thing that I think is interesting is like because so you're an artist,
Yeah.
right? This is also because I think you also have a podcast too, so that's also like a different form of art.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And
yeah.
it's like one of those things where it's like you're so passionate about it, and it's like such a creative endeavor, but then sometimes you lose sight of like what the business side of it is.
Oh yeah.
And like I was probably so this is the second show that I've started. I've been podcasting now for well over 3 years, and like that was like something that eluded me in my first podcast. Like I never was going to be able to monetize that one, and this one probably took me like 8 to 10 months before I was like, you know what, I have something, and I was like, I could probably, you know, whether it's sponsors, whether it's, you know, doing stuff for that. Is that something that was kind of like difficult for you to kind of grasp, or was that just something that like, you know, it just kind of comes with it, like, oh, you play a gig, you get paid, like that kind of thing?
Yeah, play a gig, get paid, but also like I've always tried to like put our name out there using whatever kind of social platforms that existed at any time that.
Right.
Which is like extremely important.
Yeah.
You know? So I knew that it was important, but like, and I started copywriting my music when I was very young. The first thing my grandfather said, you must copyright your music. Never let anybody that recorded your music take your music. Like always get like the last tape and stuff.
Right.
So I knew a little bit about the music business, you know, but not to the extent that I know now and that I don't want to deal with now as an artist.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I was always looking for like some kind of even like an indie label to pick us up or something.
Yeah.
Back then. But I had to do like the business side too. Like we started touring immediately in Reese Van Riper.
Yeah.
You know? Like, we didn't even start a fan base in this area until we got back from tour,
right.
You know?
Yeah.
We wanted to create a buzz, you know? But, yeah, the business side of it was always a little bit more difficult because it's more of like the red tape and stuff than the creative process.
Right.
And I really like the creative process. So I was so thankful that we got hooked up with Mint 400 in 2019 because Neil deals with the guy who owns it, Neil Sabatino. He deals with all that stuff, you know, and he knows what he's doing because he's been in the business for so long.
And it's good to have someone like that you can trust and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We actually first met here.
Okay.
Like, because I was like, my friend Adam Bird, he was on Mint 400, and then my friend Tony Saxon got Mint 400, and I'm like, why is this guy not talking to me? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
So I talked to Adam, and Adam's a really good friend of mine. He was like, if you want, I can totally introduce you to Neil. I'm like, yeah please. I'm like, Neil, I got to talk to you. We got to go to the cigar shop and smoke some cigars. You smoke cigars? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, good. Let's talk, you know?
Right.
And I'm basically like, I want you to sign me. And he's like, okay.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect meeting.
You know?
Yeah. That's awesome. Because I definitely think that that's something, because then, you know, I think that some people, at least from my end, I thought at the beginning, like if it was becoming more of like a business end, then it does it lose its creativity? But then it didn't. Like at no point it did it.
It didn't because earlier on in my life, not really career, because I knew this by the time I started having a career in it. You know, you think of being a rock star, the glitz, the glamour, you know, sex, drugs, rock and roll, you know. But you learn real quick in this business that it's not all about that.
Right.
And it's more about, do you have the passion to keep writing and creating art in a world that is designed like against having a successful career in that.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
There's only a few people that really crack the code and get through.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you have to find out when it's becoming just a hobby or like a life pursuit, you know?
Yeah.
And I learned, I wanted to, because my grandfather, he had over 250 copyrighted songs, and I never knew why he didn't just like try to sell one or like try to make money off one.
Right.
But he said, I had a family. I loved them, and I loved that more than anything, you know? So I was like, okay, cool. But I was like, I really want to try to make it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, if not for me, then for him, you know what I mean?
Right.
And like put his music out maybe one day, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so on, like, as Reese Van Riper, you have 3 albums, is that right?
Coming, or Two are out right now.
Two are out right now.
And then another one.
Sinners and Saints are out.
Yeah.
And then Psychopaths?
Psychopaths comes out next.
Okay. When does that come out?
August of
Okay.
2023.
All right, so you're dropping 2 albums this year.
Dropping 2 albums. I'm actually dropping 3 albums within 11 months of each other.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that like a big undertaking? But you mentioned it was like a trilogy, so maybe there was kind of like a thought process involved in it.
So basically right now I have over 200 copyrighted songs.
Okay.
Not songs that are out. Out right now I have about 115 on Spotify.
Yeah.
And what people have to realize too is that I've been writing since I was like 14, 15.
Yeah.
You know. So I have songs that people have never even heard, like Preacher, for example.
Yeah.
Which is on Saints that I know you like.
Yeah, it's my
Preacher,
favorite song.
Yeah. Preacher I wrote that in 2008 maybe.
Oh, wow.
And we played it live. We never recorded it. And I actually brought it to the band to record on our album Ghost Oil Revival that we did at Portrait Recording Studios with John Ferrara.
Okay.
And everybody in the band said it was too generic, that it was too repetitive, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, really? I think it's good. You know, I tried changing the riff. They're like, nah, you know? So I'm like, you know what? You guys don't deserve to record this song. So I held on to it.
Yeah.
That's what I do with a lot of the songs. You know,
Right.
I hold on to them until I feel like it's ready.
Yeah.
And when when we first got the idea to do Sinners, Saints, and Psychopaths, it was just going to be a 10-song album.
Okay.
You know, one song.
Right.
You know, one album, I should say. But then I was like, I have the potential because I have so many songs, you know.
Yeah.
That could fit each vibe of each album. And I was like, you know what, let's put Preacher on there. And it became like the 11th song on the album. And I'm like, oh, I don't want 12, you know, it's too long. And I was like, you know what, we have to do 1 Sinners, 1 Saints, 1 Psychopaths, you know?
Yeah. And,
yeah, it's definitely going to be, I think it's turning into our, like, magnum opus.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really good. Sinners is a little bit more rock and roll, a little darker. Saints is a little bit more relaxing, uplifting, but still, you know, reflective, you know.
Yeah.
And Psychopaths is like straight up Tom Waits type stuff. Very dark songwriting, crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just so excited to get it out. And, you know, it's funny. I showed my band, Neil from Mint 400's like, you're putting out 30 songs in like 10 months. Like, are you going to have friggin' more material after that? You know? Yeah. And I show him my iPhone, like my notes.
Yeah.
And I have at least like 6 more albums worth of material.
Yeah.
You know? More than that, probably.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I'm ready to record the next one. Always. You know?
Yeah.
What's next? You know? So, yeah, Sinners, Saints, and Psychopaths is definitely going to be like our opus, I think, because the songs are so good, and I've never seen people connect with Saints, with our music like they do with Saints.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's really moving a lot of people, which is great.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't even think about it like, ooh, I can make money off of it. You know?
Right.
I'm like thinking like, wow, I'm actually touching people's hearts, you know? You know, I'm actually like helping, influencing, you know, like something.
Yeah.
You know, they feel something.
Right. If you can connect with like one person, you know, like
then
that's a big thing for
Absolutely.
sure. And I think like it's very interesting because, you know, like I mentioned, we've had some other artists on the show. Actually, I had like the guy that does the theme song for our show, Manny Cabo. He lives in Elizabeth. He's on The Voice. Okay. And that's what the theme song of the show is, one of his songs that he let me use.
Yeah.
And like he had an album coming out last year, and then he decided to release like a song a month, you know, because it was like that just was gonna give him more time to like get stuff out and market it and all that kind of stuff. But you know, I also think it's kind of cool that because it's all 3 are in like basically the span of a year. Yeah. It's like, oh, you like this? Now we got this. And then like Saints is out now, and then Psychopaths coming out in August. So that's like a quick turnaround. So it's just constant.
Exactly.
So if you love your music, it's like, oh, there's more? Like, holy shit, like this is amazing. Instead of waiting like, you know, years or in some cases.
See, that's exactly like how you said that, how Manny Cabo,
Manny Cabo, yeah.
Okay, Manny Cabo, how he put out like a song each month. Mm-hmm. That's like a way to crack the code. There's things to like do like that to keep people interested and keep them coming back. You know, with podcasting, I don't know how many you put out, but like
1 a week.
See, exactly. You got to keep something repetitive and consistent.
Yeah.
You know, and it has to be good quality. And I've listened to yours. It's great quality.
Thank you.
You know, I listened to the Renee one. I really love her. She's great.
Yeah.
She's playing Prototype soon, which is in Patterson, Prototype 237.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to that one. You asked if it was like an undertaking. You know, the only part that's really not even hard, because I love doing it too. That's the thing. When you do this, you love it. You're
passionate about it.
So it was recording it.
Okay.
You know, getting it in time for the release. You know, because it's still 30 songs you're recording. Each one needs to get bass, guitar, keyboard, vocal, backup vocal, drums. You know, and luckily, I'm working with who I'm so happy to be working with, my drummer, Glenn Montori.
Yeah.
You know, he is a fantastic drummer. You can check out his stuff on YouTube. He's like a YouTube sensation.
Yeah.
You know, he does like a lot of metal covers and stuff like that. But his producing is terrific. You know, I love it because I feel he has just as much skill, if not more, as I do on the Pro Tools. But then he uses Reaper, but like how I am on Pro Tools, he is on Reaper, you know? And it's good because you always wish you have like another one of you. You know, to do what you can't do while you're working on something else.
Right.
And I'll send a song to Glenn, and then all of a sudden the drums are on it, the bass could be on it, and the guitars could be on it, you know? And then it's done.
Right.
You know? And I'm like so blessed and thankful to have him in the band, you know? So that's like, it would be a struggle because a lot of people don't have like a home studio. You know, they have to go and pay a lot of money to go into the studio. And if you're not prepared, it comes out like shit, you know? So, long story short, it is hard, obviously, to record 30 songs in 11 months. But I have a great team behind me.
Yeah,
you know,
that's great.
Really, yeah.
Yeah. And you also mentioned, so we'll take Preacher as the example because I did talk about that before. But so like that's a song that you wrote 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's finally out. And then you talk about how like getting the songs ready. So can you talk to me a little bit about that, like the tweaking process, or like, you know, knowing. I mean, obviously, you probably just kind of like have it in a different way in your head, but knowing like which song might fit. You know, this trilogy of albums that you have coming out, and then like the process of getting it from when you wrote it when you were 14 years old to whatever age you are now, you know, to like get it out and get it right for that specific album. Like, what's that process like? Because that's a long time, it seems like. Yeah.
I mean, like I said, with Preacher, the reason why I didn't release it or record it earlier was because nobody in the band liked it. Yeah. You know? And then I was like, you know what? You guys don't deserve this one.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So that's with that one. But, like, I knew I wanted it on Saints if we were doing Sinners, Saints, and Psychopaths.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Because it's called Preacher. You know, you think of Saints, you think of, like, Preacher, God, or whatever. But I knew I needed that on there. I had a song, Sinners. We're all sinners. We're all just waiting in line. I had that for like 6 years probably. But I knew I wanted to do a Sinners. And I've always, like, since 2016 probably, I wanted to do like a Sinners, Saints, Psychopaths, like how Tom Waits did Brawlers, Ballers, Bastards.
Yeah,
you know?
Okay.
Something like that. And so I knew I wanted to put Sinners on the Sinners, Saints, Psychopaths. So when it was still a 10-song album, Sinners was going to be one. But then you also, like, I got Race Against the Devil on Sinners. You know, we've got that theme. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
And in Saints, we got Preacher. We got, or it's Sinners. We also have Make It to the Grave, which is a great song, great music video by Ariel Paredes.
That's the one where you painted like a clown or like
no, that's the skull makeup.
The skull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the clown, I'm in Clown Walk. Yeah.
Okay, so there is a clown one.
There's
That's
a clown
the one.
one. Yep. Yeah. Clown Walk was great. Also made by Ariel. She's a great videographer.
Yeah.
You know, she literally works. She shoots it perfectly. She sees like how I see it, like another one of you, like I was saying.
Yeah.
It was Ariel's another one of me in my brain.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And she edited it like in a couple days. You know, before the deadline.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Love that.
Which I love. And I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to see it before I have to put it up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But after I saw, she did it with Clown Walk, and she sent me like a clip of what Clown Walk's going to look like, and I was completely blown away.
Yeah.
Because it was like what I was going to do. You know?
Yeah, right.
It's like, that's why it's good to be on the same wavelength and stuff. But yeah, how do I choose, or like, what's the process of like picking which song goes on which album? You just got to make sure it fits the vibe.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you want to do like 2 quiet songs or like 2 revved up songs in the beginning, and then you're like, I had to hit them with like a slow.
Sure.
You know, I got to hit them with the slow, got to hit them with the medium, then bring it back up. You know, you want to, because not a lot of regular people listen to the whole album.
Especially
you know?
with like Spotify and all that kind of stuff.
You
They start adding into playlists.
You got a million different channels, just like the TV. You know, so you got to make sure like your hits are good, but like also I like to like sprinkle them in.
Yeah.
You know, like I'll put like a hit like go Tell It on the Mountain,
which I also really like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like a great right start. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know, but they always say put your best song first now, you know, because they're going to listen to it first.
Yep.
But I hate that. I don't want to give them the ice cream right away.
I don't want to come out of the gate too hot.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're like, oh, the rest of the album's all right. But if you listen to the album, and then like the 3rd song or 4th song is the hit, you keep them like, oh, okay, now it's getting good.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
And then you hit them with a real shitty one. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I've had this one for 20 years. We'll just kind of like throw it in there in the middle. You know? Yeah.
Yeah. But there are a lot of songs, and for example, I got this one song on Psychopaths coming up called "Dry Cigar," and I wrote it on tour because I had dry cigars. And I was smoking them while driving and stuff. And I'm like, you got a dry cigar, you're gonna go far, boy. You know? I was like, fuck, this is so good.
Yeah.
But I recorded on my voice notes, and then I'm like, what album am I going to use this on? It's so weird, you know? And then Psychopaths came.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Let's put it on there.
Yeah,
you know?
perfect
But that's
spot
how you
for it.
that's how you pick them.
Yeah.
You know? You just got to feel the vibe of the album.
Exactly.
And where you're at.
Yeah. Talk to me also about like playing live, like around New Jersey specifically. Like, you have favorite spots? And you mentioned like after you got back from tour, that's when you really started to kind of get like a good home here, like
Base,
here in Jersey, and like kind of get a following and all that kind of stuff. So talk to me about like playing in Jersey, different spots you like, and kind of like was the the how your stuff is received like in different places, I guess.
Yeah. Jersey, I love playing. Obviously, it's home, but there's like it's different because like there's such like it's a lot more fast paced here.
Yeah,
people are a lot more wired up, you know. So like, even when I see like bands like I love like Every Time I Die, Norma Jean, you know, metal bands, you know. I always remember them going, we love playing here. You guys are the most energetic, you know. And I believe them. I know they probably say that everywhere. But,
sure, right.
You know, but I do believe them because, like, you know, other places are a little reserved, you know, even though it's a crazy thing. But anyway, playing New Jersey, I do have some favorite spots. I love playing Stashes and Fair Lawn.
Okay.
My buddy Brian, he's the owner over there. And it used to be Fort Apache. And before Brian took it over, we got some of our best paying gigs at Fort Apache.
Yeah.
You know, and there was such a good vibe there. But it's like to be honest, it's like the way I can describe it, it's like a dive bar, but it's like a juke joint at the same time.
Yeah.
To the point where like that jukebox is like always on, always making money, you know? And the bands that play there, it's like a little bit smaller, so like you get real intimate with it.
Right.
I love playing there because like now I sit and play because it's just easier, and the people are like right there.
Yeah,
they're like 2 feet away from you, on the same level. You know, I love that.
Right.
Like, of course, you want to play places like Debonair, White Eagle Hall, you know, with the stage and it's fancy, it's nice, you know.
Right.
But at the same time, I really like connecting, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what I love playing there. The new place, Prototype 237 in Patterson.
Yeah.
I love that place. The art, have you been there?
Not yet.
Okay. The art is absolutely fantastic. You walk in and you know it's an art place.
Yeah.
Because, like, not just paintings, but, like, woodwork, everything.
Yeah.
You know?
That's cool. Well, you said Renee's playing there soon.
Yes.
Maybe I'll go.
Yeah, definitely. You should check it out because I'm probably going to do, like, I couldn't play it. Neil asked me to play it because it's, like, a day after our big show in Jersey City, I think, Pushing Up the Daisies.
Okay.
You know, and I didn't want to, like, you know, have competition for that weekend.
Right.
But I'm probably going to be doing, like, a solo set after the whole thing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because Alex is really nice. He's the guy that runs a lot of the stuff over there at Prototype. And he's always like, yeah, bring a guitar. If you want to play.
Right.
You know? And so that's another place I really like playing, Prototype 237. It's just up and coming, so sometimes it's not really packed, but I can see it being the place to be, you know. And it's good to see Patterson doing something like that.
There's a lot of stuff happening in Patterson.
Yeah, a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I'm from the area. Like, Wyckoff is one town away. Like, it's 2 minutes away.
Right.
You know? And, like, people are scared of it and stuff, and I'm like, there's nothing to be scared of. Like, just come for the music, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, take an Uber if you want,
Right.
you know?
Exactly.
Like, get over it. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's such a good place.
I love that.
And people live there, you know? So it's very, very cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And there's, I mean, I have, like, my own favorite places, like, but it's just cool to kind of see from, like, a musician's perspective,
Where your
kind of like
places
where they like to play.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're getting close to the end.
Okay.
And so before we kind of get into some, like, the community stuff that I know we wanted to talk about, maybe things that, like, obviously you have the album that's out right now. You have another album coming out in August. Do you have, like, or already, like, an idea of kind of beyond Psychopaths, like, what you want to do? You do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. So I showed my drummer the other day, and Neil, because they were both like, how many friggin' songs do you have, you know? And I showed them, I'd like to do 10 songs on each one of these albums.
Yeah.
But they have probably like 30 songs for this one idea I have for Sad Song Sing-Along, you know, which is an idea I got from one of my girlfriends years ago. I think, like, that was either her name on Instagram or, like, she had it, like, in her thing. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We'll make a song about that, you know?
Yeah, right.
If it wasn't already out. But so one of them's going to be Sad Song Sing-Along, which is more acoustic and, you know, like, sad. Not sad, but, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
The vibe.
Yeah. I got a faux punk, because I love faux punk.
Okay.
I know it's, like, kind of like now it's known to be corny for some reason. But I'm like, I fucking love it, you know? So I wrote a bunch of faux punk songs, which I play them, and I'm like, wait, these are all, like, the same. It's like Johnny Cash.
Yeah,
like,
right.
boom, da boom, da boom, you know? And then the next song, boom, da boom, da boom, boom, da boom. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, so faux punk album, and then I have one called on my thing After Sinners, you know?
Yeah.
You know?
Right, sure.
Which is a bunch of, like, regular album, you know? But then I have another one after that, and there's like 30 to 40 songs that I have to choose through.
Yeah.
For each one of these things, you know? So I just hope I have enough time to put everything out. You know, that's how I feel, you know?
Yeah, right.
Like, I got to put this stuff out. It's got to be heard,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that makes me drive to do that was my grandfather.
Right.
You know, because nobody got to hear his, like, amazing music.
Yeah.
You know, he always just kept it for us, you know?
Is that ever something that maybe you want to pursue, like his stuff, and almost kind of like using that, revamping it almost?
Yeah, he wrote in music, you know. He wrote in music, the notes and stuff. Yeah. So he knew how to read music, but I don't. So I've always tried to find, like, a piano
player.
player.
You don't know how to read music?
No, I don't read
also
tablature. Yeah, he tried to get me to read music. It's like Japanese to me. You know, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like, I can't understand it, I mean.
Sure, right.
I mean, sure, it makes sense.
Yeah. To somebody it makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, I've always wanted to find someone that could play and read his music and play it.
Yeah.
You know, and I would just be like, okay, could we just record that on piano? Because it's not really vocal.
Right.
But some of them are, and then I would sing over it. But you know, that's something I really do want to get into in the future.
Yeah.
You know, because he had like hundreds of songs.
Yeah.
Like,
and I think it's just kind of cool also because it's like that, you know, like father, grandfather,
yeah,
like that
family, legacy.
The family thing was like such a big influence on you growing up. I think.
Yeah.
Like, not that, you know, I don't mean to tell you what to do. I think that's like a really cool story and like you know another cool thing that. But again, you just got to have the time to do it because you're releasing, you know, 3 episodes or 3 albums a year, 3 episodes. Yeah. That's where my mind goes.
And then I'm also doing like Revelation Radio podcast, which is more of you know, a pandemic endeavor. Right. You know, just to get my face out there during the pandemic because you can't play.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to stay relevant. You want your fan base to feel like you're still there. You know.
Right.
And so I did that, and then I did Shrewsbury, Maple Morez Shrewsbury, my professional mouse detective podcast, which like for some reason, like I recorded the first season just on vocals and. Nobody cared. And I tried to add like a visual element, so I started drawing the mice and coloring them in and like doing a storyboard type thing.
Yeah.
And I started with season 2, like, because I didn't want to draw season 1.
Yeah.
So it starts with on YouTube, Maple Morez Shrewsbury, Professional Mouse Detective, Season 2, Episode 1. And it's like, where's Season 1? What is this guy doing?
People searching for it.
Yeah,
you know
talk about doing the wrong kind of marketing. It's like you don't have Season 1 up anywhere.
The lost season.
Yeah, the lost season. But, no, yeah, I mean, it's just, you got to find time.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And if I'm not creating, I'm like depressed and crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I'm always creating. So if I'm not doing music, if I'm bored, don't want to play guitar that day, I'll draw mice, you know?
Yeah, why not?
I'll write like a little Sherlock Holmes mouse story,
you
know, about an alcoholic, drug-addicted mouse detective, you know?
I mean, I'm into it.
Yeah.
I love it. Before I ask you this next question, I'm just going to run and reset this camera.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want it to turn off while we talk about this. Now we're back.
Yeah.
Quick break. But so we did talk about off mic before we started. I asked you about like, you know, community things and stuff that you're passionate about beyond all the stuff that we talked about this episode. And you mentioned that you're big in like Native American causes and stuff like that.
Yeah, rights and causes.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. The Native American culture always fascinated me, and also like I have always had such reverence for it ever since I was a kid. So in 2016, during the Dakota Access Pipeline was getting put in, and they bulldozed 2 miles of Native American like sacred land and like destroying artifacts, and which is also something I'm very passionate about, archaeology and history. Because history is written by the victors most of the time.
Right.
You don't get to hear the other side of the story until you dig it up. So with the Native American, I went out to Standing Rock, North Dakota in 2016. I had a fundraiser at Stosh's in Fairlawn, and I raised some money. We had over hundreds of clothing donations, you know, because there were about 5,000 people or more there, you know, on the camp, and it was becoming winter, so we had to winterize them. And also we brought over 5,000 meals packaged by this New Jersey, like, food and clothing donation thing that I think was in Patterson. And we drove out there in the band van with all this stuff.
Cool.
And we destroyed the oil tank because like a nail broke it, like when we were 2 miles away from camp. So we had to get that fixed before we brought the stuff in. But once we got there, it was like something I've never seen before, you know, which was like awesome. Like these people, like not even just Native Americans. It was also like, you know, people, like white people, black people, all people of all different types coming together and trying to protect the history, heritage of these people, of the indigenous people of America,
right?
Which I think is like so important, because you have to realize that these people were like systematically erased, from their world,
right?
95% of the native population was destroyed, since like 1492. Which is roughly like around 50 to 60 million people, So it's like the Great American Genocide, but like not even American. The French, the British,
right? Everybody,
right? Anybody that wanted a piece of America, and where they relocated them places like to some of the worst places in the country, for like agriculture and things that they're passionate about and like have had history and heritage about. So basically, I was just so upset, like angered about like the pipeline thing and it eventually leaked 86 gallons, but it was into South Dakota, which was still Sioux land, So, so that worked out great, but I think it's been shut down since. But headed out there. Really, it's really something else when you go there and you see their culture like in its like element, and it was pretty brutal. Like they shot. Water cannons, in freezing weather, like at night at the water protectors. Like, I wish there was really something you could do about it.
Yeah, right.
Because I come from a family that's been here since the Mayflower. I could trace my lineage back to it.
Okay.
And we were actually the first, John Billington, I think his name was. He was the first guy hung in America.
Really?
Yeah, he shot a guy. Who shot a deer on his property and was taking it off the land. And he's like, no, it's my deer. I killed it on my property.
Right.
And he said no, and then he shot him.
Okay. Yeah.
So before this happened, though, John Billington's son, one of his sons, got lost in, like, the wild lands, there for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And they thought he was dead immediately.
I mean,
because
if I got lost for 2 weeks, I would also be dead.
Fucking 14, whenever it was.
Definitely would be
not
dead.
14, 16, 14, or something like 16, 12, I don't know. And it's around that time. But the Native Americans brought back the kid,
Oh, wow.
Because Billington's land, Billington wasn't a Puritan, he was like a merchant, and a farmer. It's like, and they called them strangers on the Mayflower.
Yeah.
Anybody who wasn't a Puritan, the Puritans called strangers, which is crazy.
Yeah. There's an album name.
Yeah, Strangers, right? Puritan Strangers.
Yeah.
So they gave him like a plot of land that was like farthest away from the shore and closest to like the wildlands.
Yeah.
So he got lost, and they brought him back like 2 weeks later. And that's like, even like before I knew that, I was still doing Standing Rock. I was doing other things like in the community, because the Ramapo are not recognized federally. They're only recognized statewide, so they don't get funding, which is terrible. Because it's just like anything else. It's like some things are such a racket, because they don't want them to have certain land, certain rights in, this area.
Yeah.
Which I think has to be reparated. I think something has to be done, but I get really passionate about it.
Yeah, no, I love stuff that people get passionate about. Yeah, whether it's music or this kind of stuff or whatever.
But I put it a lot in my music, like Knives Out is all about that.
Okay.
Knives Out is on Electric City, which was like the album that came out right when COVID started.
Yeah.
We had a release party, and nobody came. It got canceled because it was March 20th or something.
Yeah.
So, long story short, Knives Out is about colonialism in the beginning. It's like this cowboy-like guy comes in, he's like confronted with natives in the woods, and then it comes from like the white side, the pale-face side. It was going to be called Paleface, but everyone's like, don't call it that. I'm like, no, it's true. Right. But I'm like, I'm like, okay, so we called it Knives Out. And the second verse is from the native's perspective.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He says, like, you spread your demons in your dirty water, don't want to see your pale face, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's like a war chant in the middle, whoa, 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 you best believe it now, you know?
Yeah.
And like I wanted to make a music video of like a standoff and then just like the natives destroying, killing it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but, you know, people are like, you're crazy, you can't make a music video like that. I'm like, I can do whatever I want.
Sorry, it's all subjective, you know, it could mean anything.
But, yeah, that's always something I've been really passionate about.
Yeah.
The Native American causes, like land back and stuff like that.
Right.
And I really hate to see, how there's no attention to it. You know, the news organizations, they push the same agenda on every single channel. You know, like politics is basically, you know, two wings on the same bird.
Yep.
Two wings on the same fucked up bird.
Yeah, right.
You know.
Yeah.
So that's the way I see it, and you know, I like seeing how the Native Americans are getting more involved in actual politics.
Yeah, right.
You know, this administration has a couple of natives, which I like, because we should be taking like cues and learning more about where we are.
Yeah.
You know, and the historical, the folklore, the culture, which is beautiful and wild and, really something else.
Right.
We gotta, I think, hopefully we see more of it in the future.
Yeah.
You know, Standing Rock was good in that aspect, that it brought attention, brought the focal point, because when we were there, you have to understand the education there is not as up to date as city and stuff like that, just like anywhere else. But and like they drink from this water. Water is life. Many Wakoni, that's what they say. They drink from the water and they put a pipeline right next to it. Yeah. But that's not even the thing. Like, it is the thing. Water is life. They're trying to protect the water protectors, but they bulldozed 2 miles of sacred land and stuff. I'm like, and they brought dogs to fight them off and stuff. I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And so I was like, I got to go over there and finish this myself, fix it,
Yeah.
But, it's just, and a lot of people wouldn't do that.
Right.
Like, I went out twice, destroyed my truck basically, but I didn't care. We drove through 2 blizzards, to help.
Yeah.
And if someone's in trouble, no matter who they are, you got to help them.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But
no, I love that. Because that's like you said, something that you're passionate about, obviously. And I always like to hear what people are passionate about. And obviously, that's a great thing. And it's funny that you mentioned the Ramapo, because we did an episode up at Ramapo College.
Okay.
And with a nonprofit that runs out of campus there.
Okay.
And they were talking about the Ramapo tribe, I guess, that is right across the street from campus, up in those hills, and they were going through a lot of stuff. And
it's at Standing Stone or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But it's very interesting. But I appreciate you sharing about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really cool. And I'm glad I'm glad you mentioned it so that we could talk about it, because I would have never asked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay, so we're definitely way over time, but this has been great.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you.
Use it all. It's very important.
More time to smoke my whole cigar. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Edit this? Not at all. But if people want to learn more about you, what you have going on, maybe upcoming shows when the albums come out, all that kind of stuff, where are places that they can go to get that? Yeah.
To get the information, I would suggest going to reesevanriper.com. I would also suggest following the Instagram and the YouTube. I put a lot of content on YouTube about behind the scenes, how the music's created, us fooling around, having a good time making it.
Yeah.
I also put up a lot of live stuff now on the YouTube, but don't follow my Twitter. It's completely erratic, bipolar, lunatic shit. So don't even pay attention to it. Facebook we have, which is makes no sense to even have one anymore, because they don't let you do event pages the same way.
Yeah.
Like you can only do 50 invites or something.
At like a time.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because it's a live performance and they want to cut down on people being around people or something.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
They started as a COVID thing and they kept installing it.
Okay.
They kept it. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But ReeseVanRiper.com, I'd say. Spotify, we have 115 songs on Spotify, Apple Music. But if you want to learn more, definitely ReeseVanRiper.com and Instagram.
Awesome.
I use the most.
Yeah, for sure. And I will definitely make sure that I put those in the show notes so people can go and click and go right there. And then so you can see upcoming shows there, music, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like the hub of everything Reese Van Riper.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for the cigar, for inviting me here and this whole episode, because this was fantastic. I'm so glad we got a chance
Thank you. I'm glad that we did it too. Yeah,
for sure.
Got to relax with the cigar, you know.
This has been one of the best episodes I've ever recorded. Anytime I can like drink or eat, or this is the first cigar that I've smoked during an episode, but phenomenal. So again, I'll put all those Reese's stuff in the show notes. So this has been the Greetings from the Garden State podcast. I'm Mike Ham. We were here with Reese Van Riper at Brick House Cigar Shop in Wyckoff, New Jersey. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time.
See ya.